Welcome to my channel, everyone. This is Carla from Imagine That with Carla. Thanks for stopping by. I'll be doing 5 projects today, and most of those are from thrifted items that we'll be upcycling, and then I'll be remaking a sign for my little gardening station. So stay tuned and let's get started. For project number 1, this is a set of bookends that I've had in my stash probably for a couple of years. I just wasn't really sure what to do with them. I knew that I didn't want to leave them just as they were. They were just, too neat to have that kind of a stand on them. They're pewter, they're very heavy, and for the life of me, I could not figure out how to detach them from those what shall we call them? Unappealing metal bookends that they were attached to. So what I did was I decided to cast one of the trimmings molds, and so I used some resin. I used part A and part B in equal parts, and then I took it out before it had fully hardened, and I laid it on the part that I wanted to cover. I took a Sharpie fine point marker and went around it to trace, and as you can see, it's still very pliable, so it was very easy to cut with my scissors. So I just cut around that line that I had traced, and now I'm taking the castings and I'm laying them on the front where I want to cover up that metal. And as you can see, it does not completely cover. So I had this mold that I'd ordered from Amazon, probably a couple of years ago. And again, I mixed equal portions of part A and part B together and poured it into this little beaded mold. After I had mixed that well and poured it in, I took it out, and I used some E6000 to secure it because I knew I did not want it popping out. So this is how I attached the casting from the IOD border trimmings. I used E6000, and I used a couple of drops of hot glue to help secure it, and so the E6000 could set up. And again, I took another mold and attached it with the E6000. Made sure those were in place. Then I took some Fusion mineral paint. This is called Coal Black, and it's a beautiful black. If you can think of black as beautiful, I mean, it really is. It's just a rich, dark black. And as you can see, though, the black is a little, what I want to say, I don't know, it doesn't really, match the pewter, because pewter has a little bit of gray in it. It almost looks like the bunnies and the pewter front of these bookends have some black and gray in them. So after I got them painted black with the black Fusion mineral paint, I decided to take some metallic silver wax. I had this in my stash. I got it from HSN several years ago. It's Spectrum Noir. And I used the silver to go over all the raised parts of the castings of both the little beaded trim and the more ornate trim from IOD. Then I decided I wanted to put some around the top and around the sides to kind of bring it all together. And after I did that, I still felt like it was too bright, so I used Fusion aging wax to kind of calm down that bright silver. And it really did. It kind of, blended it in with the silver and the black, and it didn't just pop out at you. You'll notice it more in the finished project. Here you can see that it really did kind of tone it down so it doesn't look so bright on the new parts that we added to these bookends. Now, if you watched my video from my haul, you saw me present these little bookends. These are so cute. These are very heavy. They're made of resin, and they were a set that I paid $9.99 for. Here I'm getting this fluff paint. I have not used it in a while, and it's kind of really thick, and it's by Dixie Belle, the chalk mineral paint. And I'm going to paint these with the chalk mineral paint in fluff, and then I'm going to use a wax over them because I wasn't sure how I wanted these to look at first. At first I thought, well, they would be very pretty, very attractive if you painted them black and highlighted with gold, but I'm keeping these for myself, and the place that I'm thinking about using them is a dark piece of furniture. So I thought I would rather have them lighter. Now what I'm doing here, I am taking DIY clear wax. I'm going over both of these bookends because I'm going to be adding grungy gray Dixie Belle wax to these bookends. And you can see there I haven't used it in a while, and it's very, 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 very dry. So I have to get my brush and just kind of dig it in there. But anyway, what the clear wax does is if you apply that before you apply your dark wax, it enables you to be able to move that dark wax around so it isn't, just looks like it got stuck in one place and blobbed on. You're able to smooth it out and work it out to an even coverage, or, the way you like it, the way you want it to look. And so I'm just having fun putting this on and, getting that look that I'm going for, and it's coming through. And at first I wasn't sure what I wanted to put on the birds, if I wanted to do something different or just leave them the same in concrete. So that's why I'm kind of skipping over them right now. But as it began to come together, and I was looking at that, I was, trying to imagine, well, if you did the birds different, what would you do with them that, would look right? So I started thinking, I can't come up with any other way to do them that would look right. So I decided just to go ahead and use the grunge gray and go over the birds as well. Now the birds were a little tricky. They're kind of tight in there, and it's kind of hard to get my fingers down in there, but I think it went well. I just kind of took that cloth and put it between the birds and did that to apply some of the wax and also to rub it back a little bit. And as you can see, it's starting to come together, and I am getting, for me, it does kind of look like aged concrete. Now we're going to come over to the second one, do the same thing, move around these little birds and get them aged, looking more like concrete. There we go. Get down in there to wipe it back. And there are the finished project. Now this is a sign I took off of my little gardening bench, or I don't know if you call it a bench or a station. It's not really a bench, but I would call it a station because it's got a place where I can set things and work on. It's got a little shelf above it, and then on the bottom it also has like a shelf on the lower bottom, which I didn't paint at all because we put, you know, sometimes some kind of dirty tools or things on that, so it really didn't need to be painted. So what I'm doing here is I had painted my sign with Rust-Oleum Aqua spray paint, the kind that has the paint and primer in it. And so now I'm taking a stencil that I had ordered from Amazon. And this stencil, it says the flower bar, and I just thought that would be really cute on my little planting station. And I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint for the stencil, and I'm using Jamie Ray Vintage's stencil brush. If you haven't used her brush, they are fantastic. They really, I think, help prevent bleeding under the stencil. They just, you know, dab on, pounce on. But when you are stenciling, you do want to make sure that when you load your brush with paint, you want to offload it. And that's what I was using the little paper towel for. So before I would pounce it on, I would make sure that I didn't have clumps of paint that would be more apt to bleed under the stencil. Now I'm wanting this a little darker, so I'm going over it again. And then I use the black fusion paint, coal black, to go over the flourishes. And I don't know how I came up with that line at the top, but it's okay. To me, it almost looks like wood, you know, a grain of wood. And we know fusion paint is just a mineral paint. It has a built-in primer and sealer, and you can't just wipe it off with water. So what I'm doing here is I want to create a shadow. So I've taken my stencil and I slid it to the left, maybe 1/8 of an inch, not quite 1/4 of an inch maybe. And here I'm taking cotton Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint, and I'm getting that on my brush. I'm offloading, and I'm going to take that over each letter again, and it's going to kind of give me a shadow effect. And here you can see I'm not even putting my brush back in the little jar of paint. I'm just using what's on my little paper towel to kind of moisten it back up. Now when I remove that, isn't that neat? I just love the way it gives me that little shadow. And it also reminds me of powdered sugar on little lemon squares. I don't know why, it just looks like that white on that yellow. It reminds me of lemon. Okay, now I decide I need to add a little more to this sign. So I'm looking through all my transfers, the Katarina and the Wild Bloamy, but this is a Prima redesign stencil here, and I don't know why I put it on the side, then decided to put it at the top, but that's where it went, and that's where it needed to be. I think maybe because on my little planting station, there are 2 little sides, and at the top of each of those little boards, there's a little birdhouse on there. So I wanted to have a little birdhouse on my sign. Now I want something really simple to go on the sides. And so I'm looking through these IOD transfers again, not really finding it. So I'm gonna go back to the Prima redesign, and I find the cutest little bouquets of lavender, and I thought they were just perfect. So I took my little transfer tool, transferred those on. And where's the other one? I know there's another one. There it is. So we're gonna lay that on. Use our little transfer tool to get that transferred on. Now I'm gonna look for a butterfly. I think I need a butterfly on there. So I'm looking through all these little butterflies. That one's too big. Let's see. Maybe a flower? No. Oh, here it is. About to find it. There it is. So we're going to cut out that little butterfly. Just put him up by the birdhouse. And his little antenna did not transfer, but they were still on there. I just lined them up, went back, pressed down, and there it was. Now, I am going to have to seal this to make sure my transfers are sealed on, and also that DIY liquid sunshine paint. Now, I did take some some Fusion aging wax and go over this sign a little bit so it looked a little older than just a fresh, clean painted sign. Now this little picture, I'm calling this a little shelf sitter. It was totally wood, but I took it outside. We've had some beautiful days, so I just go out there and spray paint. It's a little faster. And this is a flat paint. It's by Rust-Oleum, and it is like a built-in primer and paint, so you don't have to worry about having to seal that before you go in and put on your transfer. So here I wanted to use this from IOD Spring 2025 collection. And so we're putting these little birds on. I'll try to burnish that in just a little bit. Now I'm deciding what I want to put on either side of those flowers, and I thought might need a butterfly on top, but no, let's put the butterfly on the bottom. So we take that little butterfly, we're going to put it on the bottom. Then I wanted something really simple on the other side, so I found this little daisy, and for whatever reason the daisy part of the stem was missing on the carrier sheet, so I just cut it in half and put the flower on top, and then lined up where that little piece was missing with the piece that we've already transferred. Press down and connect that, and you would never know that part of that had been missing. Now I decided it's just a little bit too new looking, so I'm taking my little finger sander. I'm going to go around these edges, and I want to distress this a little bit to make it look a little worn and a little aged. Now when I first was going to do this, I wanted to use a new shade of Cottage Colors by DIY, and it was a coral. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but I just did not have any luck with it at all. It did not stick to the wood. It wanted to just peel right off. I don't know if the wood had been treated with something that I wasn't aware of, or what the deal was. So I went out before I put this spray paint on, and I sealed it with a clear matte spray paint, and then I went back and sprayed it with white. Now I decided I thought I needed something a little higher than that daisy was, so I found a daisy that had these little things kind of coming out of it, and I just added those onto it, and I like the way that kind of gave it a little more balance with those coming up out of the daisy. Now, again, I'm going to be using this Fusion aging wax. I just love this stuff. It is so cool. And then I'm going to put it on those little flowers. We need to age those a little bit. And you can see the little bit of that coral paint I didn't completely get covered when I was painting that outside. So I'm going around these little distressed places with that aging wax to make it look a little older. And kind of rubbing that out so it just doesn't look so new and stark white. Cute little shelf sitter. You could put flowers in that, you could put note cards, you could put reminders or recipe cards, keys, you could even put your keys in there. I decided I need to go up there and kind of bring that flower into the surface of this project piece to age it. There we go. Now this project has to be my favorite. I just love the brightness of this yellow. Now this kind of looks like Liquid Sunshine DIY chalk paint, but it really isn't. It is a Krylon chalky finish tintable paint that I had picked up at Lowe's probably 2 years ago, and I never had used it. It's a paint that you can pick out your color and then they will mix it for you. So I decided I wanted this to be bright. This was a very grungy, old, dirty, wooden, heavy box. And so I wanted it to be bright. I wanted it to be springy. So I got into my IOD transfers and I just started cutting out flowers. Wasn't sure how I was going to put those on or how I was going to arrange them or how it was going to turn out, but I knew I wanted large flowers and I knew I wanted to use a stencil. So I kind of put my stencil on there to kind of size up, you know, where I thought it should be. First I thought I might put it on the side, then I decided I needed to be in the middle. So I was placing flowers on there, seeing what would go together, how I could balance that. And I really did edit out a lot of this. I mean, when I start this kind of thing, it could go on forever, trying to figure out where I want to put something. Now, this looks like a tulip. I'm not sure if it is. It's beautiful, but I knew I wanted to use that flower and wasn't sure, you know, what kind of angle or how I was going to make this on here. But I decided to go up in this corner, kind of lapped it over just a little bit, not much at all. Using my transfer tool, went on very nicely. I'm still lining this up, trying to figure out now if I put a flower on there, how am I going to want this to be underneath? So I thought I would start angling that down and maybe put something in the right corner, and maybe this ivy could go down in the bottom corner instead of another flower. I like that. So we need to put the ivy on first so it will show up in the background. Now we're going to place the rose on there. I'm trying to make it so the ivy does go underneath. So I'm thinking I might need to add a leaf so I can move the flower around a little bit to get coverage over the end of that ivy vine. So we press that on. Now taking the flower and place that on. I want that to be underneath the flower. And you want to make pretty sure where you want to place it before you get too low and next to your project, because once it sticks, I mean, if you try to pull it up, it could just pull the whole thing apart, the transfer. part of it could stick, and then it's really hard to try to fix that. It can be fixed, but it's a little tricky. Now I'm going to see where I think I want my stencil to be again. And I'm going to move on to the other side. I didn't put the other flower up in the corner yet because I'm just still not exactly sure if that's going to go there. I love that. Now I think that's an iris. It looks like an iris. Then I want to add this rose again. I want to use another rose. I'm trying to line that up so I can put the ivy down in that bottom right corner again. And I think I'm going to need another leaf. And I put the leaf up in there, and then, silly me, after I did that, it's like, okay, where did I put the rose? You know, it just seemed like I couldn't get it to go back to where I had it originally. Now I'm going to put this little piece of ivy on so we can cover part of that with the rose so it looks like it's in the background. Okay, where was it? I don't think this is it. I'm not sure if I put it back where I thought it was, but it looks fine. I want to apologize for not getting a video up earlier this last week. I've had eye issues, I've had dental issues, and I've had appointments just coming and going, so my time was kind of limited as far as making this video goes. Okay, now I decided I want to put that flower up in this corner. Then I decided to go ahead and put that, I guess it's a rosebud or some kind of a flower bud, up there in that corner. Kind of balances that out, and then the stencil will just pull it all together. And I'm using black Dixie Belle paint for that, so that must be caviar. So getting that on. No, actually, I think I did use the Fusion. It's either the Fusion or the Dixie Belle, but I think it's the Fusion. I just stayed with that. And I love how this turned out. It is so bright, so colorful, so pleasant and pretty. And here are all of the projects completed, except for my little sign. I left it on my little planting station. Tell me what you think.